Hi. We're going to talk about making a decimal into a percent. So a decimal into a percent. So the first thing let's take a look at is the word percent. Okay, and we have a word root. Cent is like 100 cents in a dollar. $1. Or 100 years in a century. Okay. So if I have 45%, here's my percent symbol, and I want to write that as a fraction, I would be, here's the 1 and the 2 zeros. Pretty much I'm just going to swing this under here and make it the denominator. So I'm going to remove the percent sign, and the fraction bar is the word per, and the cent is the 100. So here's the percent and here's the fraction. Okay, so now we're going to talk about making a decimal into a percent. So if I have the decimal 8/10, okay, I want to make this into a percent. Okay, what I do is I have to multiply by 100. I have to make it per 100. I have 8/10. Okay, so I'm going to go times 100. And in our, because we're in base 10, there are 2 zeros, so special numbers that have a 1 and zeros coming after it, we can use a little trick to multiply. So there's always the option to do the old-fashioned method and multiply, okay? Or we can do this. We can take the 8/10. If I move the decimal to the right, I'm multiplying by 10 because we're in the base 10 system, so I'm moving the decimal. I need to move it one more jump, okay, to multiply by 100, so the new decimal's over here. So if I multiply by 10 times 10, that would be 100. And now my new number technically looks like this, which is the same thing as 80. And then we have to put the percent symbol. Okay, so 8/10 is the same thing as 80%. Okay. Another way to look at it would be 8/10 is the same thing as 80 hundredths. So there's 80 hundredths. And if we have a 100 in the denominator, then that would be 80%. Okay. So we can write it like this, or we could use, we just talked about how to make a decimal into a fraction. So either method is fine. So here's one that usually students get confused with. Let's say I have 6 hundredths. Okay, so here's the first one we did. Here's the second one. I have 6 hundredths. I want to make that a percent. Okay, so one way to do that would be to write it as 6 hundredths. Okay, we're in the hundredths place. And then the same fraction that I just said is 6 hundredths. I could also say is 6 per 100, which means I would have 6%. Okay. And an alternative to that would be the method up here, the sure bet method. We can go times 100. So let's keep that out of the way. I have 6 hundredths times 100. The decimal is going to move 2 places. So I don't like to, I would prefer we don't write on top of the problem, but we rewrite it so we can write it here. So in case we need to go back and see a clean problem. So times 10 times 10. So technically we have, this is our number now, the decimal's at the end, it moved 2 places. And if I wrote that more properly, that would be 6. And don't forget I multiplied times 100, so I need to make sure I have the percent symbol. Okay, so either way, 6 hundredths is the same thing as 6%. Sometimes it gets confused and students get 60%, so we have to be careful, especially when you have the single digit. Alrighty, thank you for watching.